guy because that's what people pay me for.
Can I tell another story?
Sure.
Okay. So I had this attorney, Dan, I'll call him Dan, and he was very successful. He lived in Monterey. He had a wife who was a stay-at-home mom, 2 kids. One had just started college. The other one was going to start college in a year. And he felt empty, like there was something missing from his life, even though he was very successful. He had a huge house. So he came to my workshop to find out what he could do about that. So, of course, just like you're saying, how can I change into another career? I've got to pay the mortgage. I've got to support my kids in college. I've got this big, successful career everybody expects me to show up at. So how can you make a change? So he was, paralyzed by that. And so I said to him, how about if you just do a little thought experiment? It's just an experiment, and for a week you pretend that you don't have the mortgage, that you don't have the kids going, to college, that you just are completely free. Just a thought. Just a thought. You don't have to act on it. Just pretend that that's the way your life is and see what pops into your mind. And he said, you're on. And I remember that workshop was on a Saturday, and it ended at about 4 in the afternoon, and we were going to meet the following Saturday. And he told us that what happened was as soon as he left, he was driving home through Salinas, and he was watching the sunset, and he noticed the way the light hit the fields, and it just really caught him, so much so that he ended up swerving off the side of the road and getting out of his car, and he started looking around at the barns and the fields and everything, and he was doing this, and he realized that what he really wanted to do was to be a photographer. So he comes back the next week and says, woohoo! So when I don't think about all my obligations, what I really want to do is be a photographer. Well, one of the things about the ordinary world and the special world is that you can straddle them. I did. Well, no, I didn't just jump from being a professor to being a singer. I was a professor by day and a singer by night for a while until I got a repertoire of songs together. And what Dan ended up doing was great. What he would do is he would take photographs on the weekend because, he just once he figured out that was where his heart sang, he just wanted to do it all the time. So he did it on the weekends. And then every once in a while, when he could, he would skip away from work during lunch, take a photograph, maybe end a little early on a Friday, and at the end of a year, he had taken all of these photographs, and he actually ended up inviting me to his first showing down in Monterey. And this was professionals as well as amateurs. And he had 2 photographs up on the wall with all these others, and I remember thinking that they were every bit as good as everyone else's. And he ended up selling one that night. His wife was there, his 2 kids were there, but he didn't give up the career as an attorney and just leap and and he just stepped into it a little bit. And so that's one of the pieces of advice I give people is once you start to realize what stirs your heart, you don't necessarily leap into it, but take your time, do it when you can, and develop a body of work, or get your contacts together. And then when the time is right, when his kids graduate from college, for example, maybe then he can make the move. And plus, by then, he's developed the reputation that he needs to sell paintings. So that's how you can do it.
Speaking of straddling and making a move,